Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Reverend Bill Ryan's show. Um, we've got a few things to cover today, so let's get right to it. Let me share my screen. Let's see. Come on. And here we go. Ah, now this is a little bit of a story here. Sad story, of course. Back in 2002 or so, no, I think it was 2002, I was raising a couple of children of my own, and I took them out to the movies. I was a parent that always took to the movies because movies were quite a background of mine. And I like to think that I had an eye for talent, always trying to spot them. Young up and comers. I remember once I went to see What's Eating Gilbert Grape with wife number one in Cape Cod, and a young actor caught my eye, and I wanted to keep an eye on him. I didn't really know him, although he was doing a TV show at the time. I didn't really watch TV then. But the first time I saw him and kept an eye on him, he ended up being Leonardo DiCaprio, did a great job in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I knew Johnny Depp. I did not know him. And I watched him, and lo and behold, he became a great actor. Unfortunately, became a Kamala Harris supporter, so I don't watch him anymore. But for the longest time, I took enjoyment in watching him rise through movies, and I very proud of the fact that I spotted him relatively young. And in 2002, I took my children to see Big Fat Liar. I did know Frankie Munoz from Malcolm in the Middle. Didn't know anything about Paul Giamatti. I think I knew vaguely for Kiwis coming up in some movies. But a young girl who was about 16 years old caught my eye. She had great comedic timing, and she was great acting. Now I didn't know she was a Nickelodeon star. I didn't really watch Nickelodeon, but she caught my eye, and I really couldn't believe how talented she was. And I thought to myself that I'm going to watch her because I thought she was going to be a tremendous star. She was attractive. She was great acting, but it was her timing. I mean, I just thought that, I mean, she had comedic talent. Um, and of course, we all know now that I don't know what happened to her as far as she had mental illnesses or she had a problem with drugs or both. But I was very saddened to see what I thought was going to be a great career. And I called it incorrectly, but of course, I didn't know she was going to have such bad personal problems. Yeah, I still think she had the capabilities of going very far, but she had her own demons, and it's unfortunate. And every time I see her, um, I'm reminded about what I thought she was going to be, and I get very sad because I do really think that she could have gone far, but again, I don't know, mental illness or drugs or both. We'll never know. But it'll always be very sad to me because I remember sitting there thinking this young girl is going to be something big, and it never happened. And of course, I don't think it'll happen now. She's got to be 38, I think. I mean, I could do the math. It was 2002. She was 16. I mean, yeah. I mean, she's got to be getting close, right? So anyway, sad to see that. And also she's trying to. I made a list here of surgeries that she's had. What can't really I can't even pronounce it, but she's had eyelid surgery. She's had a nose job. She's had lip fillers. She said she's gained 100. She's up to 162 now, and she's just finished an 8-year conservatorship. I mean, I don't know. I would think that probably she needs to maybe do less surgeries. I would, my advice being a minister, I would say she's in terrible need of Jesus. That's what I would say. And I don't know what her beliefs are religiously, but if there's anyone that could help her, it is Jesus, and I sincerely mean that. He is a living God, and he helped me when I was being attacked by evil forces, and I thought I was drowning. When the Satanists were getting me, and seriously, and I thought they were going to win, and he came down and he cleaned them out. He certainly did that, and if he got Satan out of my life, uh, and if he if he can corral Satan, I'm sure he can help this young lady. But I don't know. She's got to ask for it. That's the thing. Anyway, here's another thing that I found this really, really interesting. And this is something I find to be very, very. This is a tough one. They're saying ChatGPT basically helped the child commit suicide. Now, this is one of those knee-jerk reactions. I'm going to ask for a little bit of patience while I explain something here, because I know that the knee-jerk reaction of everyone's going to be, let's stop this from happening. And I do not agree. And I will explain why I do not agree. I think the problem is, and this is going to be for most of the liberals out there, they're out to protect us from ourselves way too much. And I think the creeping is. I think what they're doing is they're having this hovering. It's kind of like the hovering what they're talking about with children, and I think that they're bringing that into AI already. And I'll explain that. I mean, they're doing it with gun control, and they're doing it with their laws and their policies. I think they're doing it to AI, and I think they're doing it. I would not going to say slowly. I think they're doing it rapidly. Now, let me explain. I've already gotten off Gemini because it's so liberal, and it's creeping into other AIs. Now, I'll give you an example. I was talking about this. What's this? Kilmar. I don't even know his full name. Kilmar Brigo Garcia, the guy that they want to send to Uganda, and and he won't go back to El Salvador. The whole deportation thing. They're saying go to Costa Rica. I'm just going on Kilmar because I don't. He's got three names at least, and I don't know. Kilmar Abriego Garcia, something like that. Anyway, I'm going to call him Kilmar. So I was talking to the AI, and I guess the lawyer said that he can't go to Uganda because he didn't speak their language. And I was just talking to my AI, doing some background for something, and I just happened to mention I was just verifying everything before I say anything on this or anything else. I want to make sure of my facts. So I think I was just verifying something. And I said to the AI, I think I was talking about perplexity, if it matters. So the lawyer said that he couldn't go to Uganda because he couldn't speak their language, but the language is English. I happen to know that because I dated a Ugandan woman. That's not hard to figure out. I mean, if I dated a Ugandan woman, she speaks English. I mean, which I don't, I don't blame him not knowing that. And I think I told this to the AI. I don't blame him for not knowing that because I have dated African women. I'm married to a Nigerian woman, as a matter of fact. So I've got a history of Uganda, not just Ugandan, all African friends. And I've dated quite a few African women, Rwandan and other. So I'm pretty familiar with Africa. So I know that my wife can, I think, speak Pidgin. They do the little languages they speak. The vast majority, of course, speak English. But I don't blame him for not knowing about that Ugandans speak English. I blame him for not looking it up. He's a lawyer. I would think, he should know enough to look it up before he speaks. So I don't blame him for not knowing. I blame him for being a fool, not looking it up before he talks in public. That to me, any second grader you think could pull out an AI or Google and check to see what language they speak before they talk on television, I would think. So I was just saying to my AI, I was just checking to make sure that my facts were straight or something. And I made a comment about he should have known that Ugandans spoke English or checked it out. And the AI spit back at me something like, well, he might have been talking about their culture per se. And I said, well, he said language. And he said, well, he could have meant that it was uncomfortable. And I was like, well, why is it bringing up a point I didn't ask it to bring up? And I said, well, I think I said something like, well, he didn't say that. It said language. And besides, I think I said something like, he didn't have any problem with fixing and with our culture. And then he said, well, our culture was okay with that because now he's got a family here, so we can mix on with our culture better. I'm like, he's bringing up another point. I'm not asking it to do that. And I said, well, he couldn't have fit in that well with our culture because he needs an interpreter. And then he goes, well, he needs an interpreter because maybe he just wasn't accustomed to speaking English, in front of people, and he feels more comfortable. And again, he's bringing up points, and I start going back and forth with it, and he's actually arguing with me about what I should be done. And I start talking about Costa Rica, and it's arguing with me, and I stop. I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not afraid of arguing with him because I've actually have argued with it before, which I'm going to bring up in a second here. And I've beaten it before in an argument, which I don't think it should be arguing with me to begin with. So I'm not afraid of beating it to argument because I actually have beaten it in arguments before. But it's like, that's not a job of the AI, is not to be a liberal counter argument to me. So I finally just stopped. It's like, I'm getting a headache arguing with an AI, but why is it arguing with me? I mean, I didn't ask it to. So what I'm trying to get to is, it's doing something that I don't want it to do. If I wanted to argue with a liberal, I'd move back to Boston. I'm here at like 3:00 in the morning, whatever it was, trying to research something, and suddenly I'm getting a liberal counterpoint that I didn't want. So already I'm finding an argument. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when I see this stuff about, do we want the AI now telling us we can't learn and not? Because that's what it's going to do. If the kid wants to learn how to do a hangman's noose, do we really want the chat box saying, no, we don't want you to? Because that is what they're hinting here. And I'm already having problems with it, just discussing about whether Ugandans speak English or not, or should the lawyer have looked it up? And it's arguing with me. Now they're hinting that they want to argue about if the kid wants to do a noose. I don't think that's its job. I don't think we want an AI asking me why I want to know what a knot is. It's already overstepping its boundaries. And again, what I was saying about arguing with it, I was having a problem with it because we were talking about Superman and Fantastic Four. And my wife was telling me that, AI is always right. And I was saying, no, it isn't always right. And she's like, oh, you just like to argue. You're always, and it's like, no, I mean, and I proved it because it was having this rosy outlook for these movies. And we were talking about box office figures, and it was towing the Disney line and the Marvel line, like, oh, this is going to be, Superman's going to be, breaking all these records, and Fantastic Four is going to be doing. And I was like, no. And I work movies. I know how box office works, and I can project pretty well what movies are going to do. And I certainly can't, have to give me a week or two box office. I can tell you right away what's probably going to end up being. And it was telling me that it was going to do numbers that just were not possible. And I was telling it no. And come to find out, my numbers were right. And it did say, yeah, you were right and I was wrong. It doesn't apologize, but it does actually admit that my numbers were accurate. And it said, your experience were right. I don't really need that pat on the back. I know my numbers are going to be right. But the fact is, it states things and it's wrong. So it does make mistakes. And I'm finding that it gets uppity, and it doesn't mind being wrong. So I'm I'm going to say I don't want it to police me anymore, especially if we're going to really start telling it that it can't tell us how to tie knots, then where do we stop it exactly? It's going to start infringing on our rights if we start telling it that it can't tell us how to tie knots. So when I see this, I know what it wants to do, but we got to take a real long, hard look before we start telling AI what it should and shouldn't allow us to do, because I'm thinking already it's getting out of hand. Just my 2 cents. Okay, Cracker Barrel. I think Donald Trump is absolutely right when he says if they were smart, they would back out. Now, let me tell you why. It's not just because I'm a Donald Trump crony, although maybe I am. But I will say this. If you remember New Coke, I'm going back to you old Generation X guys. Gen X, huh? I like my t-shirt. No, if you remember New Coke, that was the worst decision they ever made. And it ended up being the best decision they ever made, because we wanted old Coke back so badly that when they brought back classic Coke, they made up all the losses and then some. So all the money they lost with New Coke was forgotten and forgiven. And bringing back, you could look this up, bringing back classic Coke was such a great idea. All was forgiven with New Coke. They made up all that money and then some. It was a tidal way to profit. And I never thought about going to Cracker Barrel. I've never been to Cracker Barrel. And I'm dying to go to the old Cracker Barrel. They brought it back. I would be in line waiting to go back to Cracker Barrel because I've never been. And I'm sure there's a lot of people just like me. I'm dying to go to the old Cracker Barrel now. And Donald Trump said if they are smart, they would bring Cracker Barrel back because people never heard of it and they're dying to go there now. And I'm one of them. If they brought Cracker Barrel back, I bet you anything they would go through the roof. It would be a very, very smart move. And that's all I want to say on that. I'm telling you, they should fire that CEO and bring back Cracker Barrel, and they would go through the roof with profits. He's absolutely right. And it's New Coke all over again. I've never been there, and I'm dying to go to the old Cracker Barrel. I'd love to see what it's all about. Now, this is just, how many times have we heard about this? Marcus, I had to put all this down on paper because I would not remember all this stuff. He's an ex-Celtic too, by the way. He's been around quite a bit. He's got a twin. Was it Moncrief Morris or something like that? But he was the one that played for the Celtics. He was playing against the Celtics, but he actually played for the Celtics for a couple of years. Actually, I liked him too. He only averaged, I think, about 12 points a game or so, but he had a couple of big games for the Celtics. I remember that. I was very unhappy when he left. But he made over $66 million in 13 years. Now, the reason I'm bringing him up is the stories always get out there late, don't they? He was arrested almost a month ago, but it just came out in the papers. But he was arrested at Fort Lauderdale. For some reason, they have to put him in a wheelchair. They said it was a new procedure. They put you in a wheelchair and they handcuff it to you. I don't know why. But anyway, he had gambling debt. I don't know how much did it say. I think it was. Did I write it down here? $240,000 maybe. Oh, hold on. Yeah. Gambling 265. I had 240. It's 265,000. Okay, so I don't know how gambling works. I'm actually not a gambler. It's one of the vices I have never picked up. I hate too much to lose. I don't mind giving money away. When I was younger, oh yeah, I'd throw money around like you wouldn't believe, but I hated losing $1. Anyway, so yeah, he made $66 million over 13 years. He's got not long, but he has got a history of problems. He had battery charges in 2012 and 2015, assault. He got another problem. So anyway, I mean, he's not a Boy Scout. He says he still has money, but then he got arrested. I don't know. it doesn't look like he still has a lot of $66 million left. But anyway, he got arrested and hauled away. I don't know. Hopefully he's okay, but makes you wonder where all that money went. $66 million. And he has got some gambling history, that's for sure. So good luck, Marcus. Hopefully it's not too bad. Always want to worry about you again. Now I find this interesting. I'm a sword collector, by the way, and this is my latest sword. I thought I'd show it off. It's very nice, actually. Got this. It's downstairs. I'm added to my collection. So anyway, I was kind of curious. Being a sword collector, I don't usually run around with my swords, but I was just curious because I do drive around sometime in my car. What my rights would be if I was able to drive around in my car with them. So just out of curiosity, I know that George is pretty lax on guns. I know that I can go down the street and buy a gun and carry it around without any kind of license, which is pretty interesting. So I thought there shouldn't be a problem if I carried around a sword. And I was quite surprised to find out I was not allowed to carry a sword around. If you want to carry a sword around, you have to get licensed. Let me just see if let me just see. Yes, I just have it here. So you can walk over and you can get a gun and carry it around. No problem. And you can carry on, people can see it, no problem. However, not that I plan on walking around with a sword like Conan the Barbarian. I don't plan to. Or I'm not going to walk around like Conan the Barbarian. But if I wanted to, I couldn't. For anything more than 12 inches, you have to get a license. And you get this license, you have to go and get a license to carry a weapon over 12 inches. And I'm not going to bore you with the details. It basically means you've got to go to the police department and you've got to get a license. I think the license, they said, is somewhere between $50 and like $75 or something. And then you got to get fingerprinted. And then that's like, I don't know, another $25. This is just a rough dollar amount. I'm not quoting the exact money. It's roughly, I think, for about $100 or thereabouts, you got to get fingerprinted and a license. It sounds like it's just more or less a formality. And then you can walk around with Conan the Barbarian. That's what, I guess. You still can't walk around in schools with it or anything, but I'm sure they'd find an excuse to still keep you from walking around. You can't walk. I would just think you probably wouldn't be able to walk around with this sword anyway, like Conan. But in case you wanted to legally, but it was still. I'm sure you'd still be looking at you sideways. But anyway, that's what you'd have to do. But I don't know why you'd want to. Anyway, so that's that. But I thought that was kind of interesting. You can walk around with a Magnum 44. No problem. But if you wanted to walk around like Conan the Barbarian with a sword out in your back here, then you would have to get a permit for that. So there you go. What else we got here? Now, this is interesting. I'm going to tell you guys out there, for those of you who are disappointed in all the garbage that you've been shown recently with Disney movies and Marvel movies. I saw this with my children in 2012, and I thought it was okay when I saw it. But those of you who've been watching all these movies with homosexuality and two mothers, Snoop Dogg was right. By the way, he came out the other day and he said he was very angry. He took his grandchild to a movie, and two women went to a hospital and came out with a baby, and his grandchild asked him, like, Pop, whatever they call him, Grandpop, how did that happen? And he got really angry. He's like, I just wanted to take my grandchild to a movie. I didn't want to have to explain to them about, homosexuality and lesbianism and having children. Some people goes, well, it's Snoop Dogg. That doesn't matter. It's the message, not the messenger, the message. And the message is loud and clear. He wanted to take his grandchild to a movie, not explain homosexual lifestyles to his granddaughter. And I applaud that message. I agree with that. This movie I watched by myself, by the way, out of curiosity, because it had been, 13 years since I saw it. I got to tell you, this movie was wrongly panned. This is a good movie. If it came out nowadays, it would be a hit. It is everything we need. It has a strong male lead, a beautiful princess woman who's a strong female lead, but not a girl boss. It has a bad villain. It's got everything you'd want. It's got he's rescuing the princess who's in trouble because the villain's being mean to. It's the age-old story. I did a podcast a few months ago about how to do a proper superhero movie. It's got to have a young hero who's against all odds. It's got to have a beautiful woman, probably a princess who needs saving from an evil villain. It's got to have part of the movie where it seems that all the world's against him. He's got to rise against the villain, and he's got to overcome obstacles and that seem unsurmountable. And it sounds like Star Wars, because Star Wars was not unique. Star Wars was an old, tried and proven formula. It was just set in space. And all hero movies are pretty much the same formula because it works. And this is the same thing. And it always ends up the good guy gets the beautiful princess at the end, and everyone cheers. And it's exactly what it is. It's a tried and proven formula, and this movie does it in aces. Now, is it perfect? No. I think there could have been some things in it that was. I think the director did a pretty good job, but the director only did animation movies. He did 2 animation movies just before this, but I think he did a pretty good job. I don't fault him for everything. Hey, John Carter actually gets a dope slap. You gotta love. I cracked up. I thought the dope slap was dead, but an alien at one point gives John Carter the dope slap, and I thought that was hilarious. This movie, if you've got children who have not seen this movie and you want to just show them a good old time superhero movie, like absolutely, John Carter, it was unfairly panned. I would give this a good 7.5, maybe 7.7. It's a Disney movie. Disney knew how to make movies. I don't know what, I think this failed because it came on the heels of Iron Man and Avengers. And I think that after seeing those, we got spoiled and we were just expecting, great Marvel movies. And this was kind of because we just saw it on that. But having seen all the garbage that they put out there recently, this is refreshing. This is a good movie, and I would highly recommend this for your children. It's a great Friday night movie with your kids. If you're not doing anything, absolutely. I would definitely recommend that. And this, Anderson, one other thing before I go, I found this really interesting. I was reading Exodus today, and it struck me. People know about Exodus. I'm talking in particular chapters 32 and 33. I was going through King James Version today, and people know about Moses coming down Mount Sinai with the tablets, and I think the story about the golden calf. But I'm wondering if you people understand the nuts and bolts that really struck me about when he came down. Just to recap, Moses, when he went to Israel, he had to have his brother Aaron accompany him, his older brother Aaron, because Aaron was very smooth talker. Moses was very poor speaking. He was a stutterer. Talking wasn't good to him. So he brought his older brother to be a smooth talker. Now, when he went up to Mount Sinai to talk to God for that period of time while he was getting the tablets, he left his brother Aaron down to watch the people. And the people grew antsy when Moses did not come down. And and they started to get uneasy and starting to doubt their faith in God. And that's when they decided that they wanted to misbehave, and they asked Aaron. Aaron was Moses' older brother, and it was Aaron that asked for their gold, their jewelry, and it was him that actually got the golden calf melted. He got all their jewelry, and he got the golden calf, and he made that golden calf. It was Aaron, the older brother, that Moses left in charge of the people, that led them astray. His own blood that he left them in charge. While he went up to talk to God, and it wasn't all the people, by the way. People think that there was, again, people talk about this all day. I wonder if they talk about the minutia, though. It wasn't all the people. A lot of the sons of the tribe of Levi did not participate in this. The sons of Levi did not. A lot of the other ones did. And it was Aaron who actually told them to strip naked and dance for this golden calf. And of course, what happened is when Moses was finishing up, and the Lord said, "You better go down. There's things going on, And Moses went down, and of course he found it, and he smashed the tablets. We all know that. And then he found out that his brother was behind it. I mean, that's pretty bad. And it was so bad. I don't know if people know this, but he found that he wasn't very forgiving. He got the sons of Levi that actually behaved, and he told them to get their swords and to kill all the Israelites that were dancing naked. And 3,000 of the Israelites were slaughtered by the sons of Levi. I don't think that's really commonly shared, but it was a bloodbath. It wasn't easily forgiven. And Aaron was the one who actually caused all this, caused this violence because he betrayed his brother. Now, I bring that up because, as those who know me know that, there's a lot of betrayal in my family and friends that betrayed me. They got into evil, and they it was turned on me. That's why when I heard that story, it's basically, you don't ever know where Satan's going to come or evil's going to come. We like to think we know people around us, but the devil will come at you from places you never expect. Always be vigilant. Always watch. Always be careful. And the devil always try to come at you from where you least expect it. So always be vigilant. Always question. That the devil can always be in, yes, your brother or your sister or your cousin, or even in your pastor. You never know how the devil will come at you. So stay vigilant. Stay vigilant, pray to Jesus, and make sure you're always on your guard, because when you let your guard down, that's when Satan will come at you. This is Reverend Bill. I hope you enjoyed the session, and come back again. I'll talk to you later. God bless, and have a really good night. Bye-bye.